Dezz Asante here from the Tech Muse Academy with another mixlessons.com video quick tip. This one comes in response to some feedback that I got from a previous video that I did about recording drums in a home studio without proper microphones and acoustic environment to work in. Now, I had done that video using an electronic drum kit. I did it in a noisy retail store environment, and then, of course, we took the MIDI from the performance and ended up getting some pretty interesting results. Now, I did get a comment from somebody who mentioned that, you know, it's all well and good if you have an $8,000 Roland drum kit to play on. And the man makes a valid point. I did have the opportunity to use a real nice high-end Roland electronic drum kit for that demonstration. So I thought, well, that sounds like a challenge. Let's see what we can do with very, very little gear, as well as no good microphones, no great acoustic environment. Let's see if we can really go low budget and still get some equally impressive results. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to, behind me there, I've set up a little makeshift homemade drum kit, and I'm going to do my best to see if I can get some world-class drum sounds using a homemade drum kit, using things I found around the studio, things I found around the house, a couple of SM57s, nothing fancy, and we'll see what we can do. So I'm going to actually just take a second and walk you through the drum kit and show you what I've done, and I'll see you when that's through. So first up, handy dandy throne. Got to have someplace to put your butt. Next, I've got a practice pad, a little Vic Firth practice pad that I'm using as my snare drum. The beautiful tone we're getting out of that. Okay. I've got a little kick drum pedal attached to a pad. It's actually a Yamaha electronic drum pad, but it's not actually connected to anything. I've got my SM7 microphone just to capture the beautiful tone of that. Okay. This over here is my tom. It's an old djembe that I've had for a while. It's a bit too loud, so I'm going to put a pillow on top of it, and that's going to be my floor tom. And then I've got a music stand, standard fare for putting your sheet music on, and that is going to be my ride cymbal. And I've got a towel hanging over it. And let's have a listen to, oh yeah, that's beautiful. And over here on the left, I've got a microphone stand with an SM57 taped to it and a towel draped over the top, and that's my crash cymbal. You like that? Isn't that nice? So here, the sounds of my drum kit: kick, snare, crash, ride, and floor tom. Okay? And that's the kit we're going to use to record today. Okay, so I've painstakingly placed every microphone for maximum tone and resonance from these beautiful drums. And I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to hit record over there, and let's record some drums. Let's see how that sounded. Okay, so here we are back in the lab, which we haven't really left, and I've got these beautiful recorded drums. Let me play you a little bit so you can hear for yourself. Oh yeah. So that's what we captured. Now, in order to make the magic happen, what we need to do is we need to extract MIDI from this performance. So let me show you how that's done. I'm going to start with, let's see, I think this was my kick track. I'm going to double click on that and open it up in the sample editor. Now what I've done here is I've activated my hit point detection and I've adjusted the threshold until I'm getting hit points like you see here, these lines on every kick stroke. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Let me show you how I did that. We're going to move on to the snare, and I'll just repeat that process. Double click, open it up in the sample editor, edit hit points, adjust my threshold, zoom in so I can see what's going on. So it looks like we're missing some of the lower level notes. Let's try that. I'm not sure what was going on there. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's move along and so now that I've got my hit points on all of the tracks, the next thing to do is to go to each one of these and say create MIDI notes. So we're gonna bounce them out. I'm gonna choose 16th note lengths and destination new MIDI track. And we're going to hit OK there. Now we've got a MIDI track, and that MIDI track represents the kick. And I'm going to go in here to my snare. I'm going to do the same thing. Create MIDI notes, new MIDI track. I'll change the MIDI notes later. I'll match them to our software instrument. So we'll hit OK there. So that's our snare. It's important you label these. It makes things a whole lot easier. And same thing, create new MIDI notes, new MIDI track, okay. Dynamic velocity as well, because we do want it to interpret the amplitude of the waveform into a MIDI velocity, so we get some loud softs happening, okay. That one was our tom. Next we have our crash, create MIDI notes, okay. And last but not least, our ride cymbal. Create MIDI notes. Ride. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output of these and send them all to Superior Drummer, which is, I've just created an instance of Superior Drummer on in my VST instrument rack. Oops, where am I here? Superior Drummer and Superior Drummer. I think we're good all the way around. Yes, we are. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute all of the audio tracks at the event level. I'm going to solo the kick, and I'm going to open up Superior. And we're going to have to go in and turn up the velocities. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to select all notes. Hang on a second. There we go. Turn them all up. Beautiful. Okay. So now we're going to go to our snare. And we're going to select all those notes till we get a snare sound. I'm going to move them up. And I'm also going to turn their velocities up. Okay, we're going to go to my tom, and I'm going to zoom to a place where there is some tom. And we're going to grab all these notes. That sounds like a tom. Let's just turn those velocities up. Yeah. Sounds a bit like a tom to me. And then we're going to take our crash. Again, turn the velocities up. There's a crash. And last but not least, our ride cymbal. Sounds like a ride to me. Okay, now let's hear what we got when we play this all together. So I hear my snare. There's a couple of spots where it's picked up a few extra notes. So this is where I could go in and edit some of the MIDI. And there's another one I don't need. Okay, so just before we get to the mix, I'm going to do a quick recap of getting the audio out of Superior. You can look a little deeper at the last video, how to record drums in your home studio, for a bit of a longer insight into this, but here's what we do. I've got my VST instrument up here, and it's all triggering just fine. I did take a minute and edit the MIDI a little bit, just to sort of tighten up my loose timing. You don't have to do that. If you want to be more of a purist, you can keep the drummer's performance as it was, but I did edit the MIDI a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into bounce. I'm going to hit the record button, and I'm going to let that play through and export the audio out of the plugin and bring it back into my project, okay? So I'll do that, and I'll catch you when it's done. Okay, so now I'm going to bounce the audio out. I'm going to save it in a folder on my desktop called Drums. And we're going to bring that back into our project. I'm going to do a quick mix on it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the audio has been exported out of Superior Drummer and imported back into Cubase. I now have 18 channels of drums. I've got ambient mics, I've got direct mics, top and bottom snare, inside, outside kick drum, Yamaha sub kick, direct toms, a little bit of everything. Let me go through and play you some of these microphones so you can hear what we've got. I'll play you the whole mix first. Okay, and we'll go through some of these mics. This is the one of the ambient mics. Actually, that mic is turned all the way down. Let's try this one. Now, this microphone is, they put a room mic in the room, and if I understand correctly, they ran its output into a guitar amp in an ISO chamber and mic'd that to get a little bit of that grit around the edges. There's this, and it sounds like this. There's this mic, far room mics, big ambience. We got this guy here. That's a mid-range room mic, a near room mic. We got a hi-hat mic, although I didn't use any hi-hat. There's a kick. That's the interior kick mic. Here's the exterior. Here's the Yamaha sub kick. Here's our overheads. Here's our snare drum bottom mic. Snare drum top. A snare drum effects mic. Very similar sound. And we've got a tom, our tom mic here. And that's pretty much what we're left with. Play it all together, sounds a bit like this. I'll just move somewhere where there's some toms. So we went from there, we started from, let's see. This is what we started with. Rock on. Okay, and we ended up with this. I'd say not too shabby. So again, I'm going to do a quick mix, export, sync it to the video, and we'll lead out with me playing my homemade makeshift drum kit, sounding pretty darn cool. And we'll see you on the next quick tip.